Your fault. Your gun. Police came to the house and did a search of the house. They arrested him for possession of a gun that was yours. You had been in prison for how long?
8 years.
You say to the police officer, "It is my handgun."
I did not.
Looking down. Turn the paper over.
Sorry.
You could have gone to the police station and say, "Here's my registration. You're holding somebody for doing something they didn't do." You ever rented a room in your house before?
I had not. I actually had
look,
just
don't-
purchased.
Look at me. Don't look down.
Sorry.
The answer?
No, I had just purchased the house I guess about 2 years before that, before I rented it out.
So this was your first tenant, and you posted an ad on Craigslist.
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff answered that ad. Stop looking down. Turn the paper over.
Sorry.
Plaintiff answered the ad. Did he sign a lease?
He did. Well, no, we had a verbal agreement lease. I'm sorry. He filled out an application, but no lease.
Okay, I'd like to see the application he filled
Sure.
out.
Here you are.
Okay. Whose handwriting is this?
That's my handwriting.
Now, when the plaintiff filled out this application, has the occupant been convicted of a crime? And you wrote no, but that was an untruth.
That was untrue.
Okay. Because you had, in fact, been convicted of a crime and you had been in prison.
Correct.
For how long?
8 years.
Now, the application also says that you are unemployed. It doesn't list any previous employment. Shh. It doesn't describe any other income that the applicant wants. That's all blank, right? So the only thing that was incorrect was that the plaintiff had been, in fact, convicted of a crime. Moved in on January 1, and you accepted his 6-month in advance payment. What date it was that the police came to the house? What date was that?
It was February the 4th.
Did he move in with any property?
After he moved in, he had some items delivered. I believe it was a bed frame, a dresser, and a television.
There was no bed in the room?
I did have a bed, but he said that he wanted his own, so I had moved that one out so he could bring his own in.
So on February 4th, the police came to the house and did a search of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know why. Do you know why, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What was the reason?
Because I was still on parole, so they were doing their routine home inspection.
Okay, so this was a parole inspection.
Correct. And when they found the weapon, they called 2 more for backup.
Was the defendant at home?
The defendant was at home.
Now, you were, in fact, at home because I've read all of the papers that are attached to this case. You were, in fact, at home.
Yes, ma'am.
And when they came, they found a weapon in the house.
Yes, ma'am.
That was yours.
Yes.
Was it registered?
Yes, ma'am.
In your name?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you were there when all of this took place. So when all of this took place and they found the handgun, did you say to the police officer, "It is my handgun"?
No, ma'am, I did not.
When did you know that they had found the handgun?
After they had taken him out in cuffs, I asked them what had happened, and they told me just to go back in my house. It was about 3 or 4 days later when his sister called me, and I found out that they had my gun.
Okay, so now, subsequently, his sister called you.
Yes, ma'am.
And said they arrested him for possession of a gun that was yours.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do?
I tried to get a hold of his parole officer,
How many days later did you finally get in touch with him?
I believe it was about 6 days after that I was finally able to get in touch with him.
How many days after they took him away did his sister call you?
She had called me the very, literally the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
Not 3 or 4 days later. She called you the very next day.
Yes, ma'am.
That would sound more accurate, if not that day. So you finally got a hold of a parole officer 6 days later.
Yeah.
Instead, you kept his rent money, his $4,000. And you think that that's reasonable because?
We had an agreement. We had an agreement that I wouldn't have to return money to him. Like, he paid up front. I said, if you leave, then, you're not getting your money
You
back.
don't understand. He left because you didn't do the right thing. You must know where the local police station is where you live. You get in your car, you go to the police station. The next day when his sister calls and says, "Here's the registration for the gun that you took out of my closet. It wasn't his." And you get your gun back and he comes back and he moves in. Or "I don't want to rent to you anymore. You lived here for a month. I'm going to give you back your 5 months' rent. I don't want you here anymore." He moved out because of you. I told you what you're supposed to do. Your fault. Your gun. Your registered gun, according to you, which I assume you got back.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you could have gotten it back the next day.
Yes, ma'am.
And he would have been out of jail.
Yes.
So ordinarily I would say, well, and what did you do with his TV, by the way?
I don't have it.
I gave it back. Where is it?
I moved people in after he left. After he moved, I put another ad up. I had other people move in. They moved out and took his property. I don't have it.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. Now, you have a counterclaim that is the most ridiculous that I have ever heard, considering what you just told me. You have a counterclaim for punitive damages resulting from his lying to you about his criminal past.
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye.